Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Catherine and Lorimer's Guide to Life podcast. How's everyone doing? Having a good week? I hope so. I've had an interesting week. I haven't actually been too well. I don't want to moan about it. I don't want to start my podcast saying, oh, I was really poorly. But no, actually, I really was. I suffer from something called tinnitus, right? I don't know if you've heard of this. And basically, I live, and it was I didn't actually say anything, but I was at my partner's, and I know I've kind of like finished mid-sentence, but I'll carry on. I will finish the sentence. I was at my partner's house, and his daughter had the fridge door open. And you know where it goes? Beep! Yeah, right. I have that, and she was like, God, that was just really annoying. I can't wait to, and she shut the door, and I was just thinking to myself, I have that in my ear all of the time. That's the noise. Beep! And sometimes it's beep, so beep, and this week it's been beep, and it's been, yeah. Do you know what? I can't tell you how difficult it is to concentrate when it's doing that. Also, I'm going slightly deaf. I'm having problems hearing, so not like me. I've actually made a doctor's appointment to and told him what's going on. So I think it's, realistically, as much as I don't want to admit that I'm going deaf, I am, and at some point I'm going to need a hearing aid. So, looking at the referral waiting times at the moment, if I want a hearing aid in about 5 years' time, I better get on the list now. Anyway, right, enough of that. Enough of my moaning. February news rant. Okay, right. I know, like, when people kind of like do like recaps and stuff, they start with the big stories first, don't they? Well, I'm not going to do that. Mainly because I've only got 20% left on my phone. Oh, remember to talk slower, because you don't know who's coming listening from the UK. 78 countries now. Oh, hang on. That's for you guys for listening. Okay, thanks very much. Really appreciate it. No, so anyway, what I was saying was that, I'm not going to start with the big stories first, because obviously there was a massive story in February. I'm going to start with number one on my list, okay, because actually this really annoyed me. Probably had more of an impact than the big one. Parents being fined for taking their children on holiday. This really annoys me. I just find it really, really annoying, and it's insane bureaucratic rubbish. And I was actually having a conversation with one of my friends, and they're going to take their children out of school. I said, you're going to get a fine then, aren't you? And we had this whole argument about, that it was completely crazy, because the experience the children are going to have going on holiday, far outweighs them missing a couple of weeks of school, because they're only quite young anyway. They're kind of, they're they're kind of like late primary school. I don't know what it is now. There's different things. I have no clue. I haven't got a clue. But anyway, they're kind of like, they're not in the big school yet. Right? They're in the little one, but not the teeny one, right? So they're in the little school. Or little middle school. Do you know what I mean, don't you? You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, they're probably about 7-ish. And I can't even remember which friend of mine I was talking to about it. It's been one of those weeks. But anyway, so they're gonna take their children away in term time, which, oh, that's right, I know who it is now. So actually, yeah, they haven't gone to the big school yet. Maybe they have gone, I don't know. I know who it is now. It's actually a really good friend of mine, and I forgot to ask her how old he was, and I saw her today. Oh dear. This is what it's like being blonde sometimes. Anyway, I'm digressing, aren't I? Parents have children, they give birth to them, well, the mum does anyway. It should be up to them if they want to take them, away in holiday time. It might be the only time that parents can go. It could be affordability issue. So what's more important, right? That kids go away on a really nice holiday, or, they don't, or they go away on a really crap holiday because that's all the parents can afford in term time. I just think it's morally wrong for a head teacher to tell someone when you can and can't take your children on holiday. It's ludicrous. I mean, I understand, like, if everyone did it, things would be disrupted and blah, blah, blah. But I just, you've got to have a bit of, you should have like I don't know, maybe you should just have different term times. They're not all the same. So holiday companies can't rip people off. I find the whole thing very frustrating. Okay, fair enough, it was probably set up to try and stop truancy. And it'd be interesting to see, actually, if that's actually worked. I suspect it probably hasn't. Okay, second on my list, right? Epstein saga. Well, I don't really know where to start. but there does seem to be a rather unhealthy obsession with sex amongst the powerful and upper class. Well, there probably is, everywhere, but it just seems to me like they kind of want excitement and danger rather than kind of meaningful connections, something that actually means something. It's actually quite despicable. And, these people are in a position of responsibility. They're setting the example to the rest of society. They should actually, know how to behave. And like Andrew and Fergie say, have clearly overlooked, Epstein's behaviour and used him for their own financial ends. Well, what sort of message does that send out to everybody? Oh, just, daughters as well, Beatrice and Uni seem to, spend quite a bit of time on skiing shagfest holidays. Appalled, not quite surprised by their behaviour, because again, I have worked as a secretary in a small country estate house and saw, a few parties there. I didn't actually go to any of them. Yeah, just heard some stuff. But I remember, when I went to Japan a long time ago, there were young female Russian women, who were used to entertain. I'm doing, entertain Japanese businessmen. That's what they use for over there. And I was just like, what is wrong with someone? And why do men obsess over sex? And they should aim to be more like Richard E. Grant. They found the perfect connection with his wife and didn't look anywhere else. And actually, do you know what? I'm just actually having a bit of a flashback because I used to work with this super cool guy called Stephen, he was great. He was an awesome chap. And I remember when he went off to China on business, the Chinese businessmen tried to kind of offer him a woman to go with, and like this guy was happily married. His wife was and his family were in his entire world, and he was just like, oh no, I'm not. No, I'm not interested. Thank you very much. Bit of a panic there. And it was just like, and it's true because he told us the story. So if anything had happened, he'd have kept it quiet, wouldn't he? So it does happen, and it's just like, it's beyond belief. And I'm just like, I'm actually probably quite speechless. Yeah. I'll continue a bit longer because I kind of like I carry on obviously after certain events have happened. So pregnant woman was hit with an e-bike, right? In Dorset, 13-year-old arrested. E-bikes are dangerous things, especially in the hands of teenagers. I've nearly been taken out by a couple of them. They just like, especially because I can't hear properly. I can't hear them coming. And it's like, whoosh, and you're like, nearly taken out. So actually someone nearly ran me over the car today, but I was crossing the road right in front of them wearing black. I'm not doing very well. I scraped my car. Did I tell you that? I scraped it on the wall as I was reversing in. It's a really frustrating situation. It wasn't my wall. I was having to turn around because someone had parked opposite my driveway, which means I can't get in. So I had to kind of do a 600-point turn from a different position, and it was dark and it was snowy, and yeah, I'm really annoyed, but there we are. And it frustrates me because sometimes things happen, and you can't do anything about them, and they're not of your fault. And I just, that really frustrates me. Anyway, particularly e-bikes. And I actually have had a conversation with a local councillor in my area about e-bikes because I actually saw some kid on an e-bike racing a car down a hill. And honestly, they were doing about 40 miles an hour. And that's a ridiculous speed. Or was it a skateboard? No, it was an e-bike. It was an e-bike. And it was just like, it was just a ridiculous speed to kind of them to go on. And they were going that fast that as they went past the cars, they set the car alarms off in the street, which was ridiculous. I'm just thinking that maybe kind of like we need some regulations on these e-bikes, don't we, guys? Forget your fox hunting. Why don't you concentrate on getting some laws about, e-bikes? Does it need to be added to the moped group where you must be 16 and you've got to have a professional license to ride one, with a large fine for anyone riding one under that age to force parental responsibility? Because, you need to get, if your kids are riding e-bikes out there, guys, then you need to, kind of say to them, listen, going 30 miles an hour on the pavement is not good, or through a shopping centre or built up area where there's loads of people, not good. Okay, so number 4, serial killer Steve, someone, I can't remember his surname. I you know what, I'm not going to Google it. It is a piece of news. And he's admitted to killing Victoria Hall. He probably wanted the publicity, which is why he admitted it, but He's not going to get it on my terms. I'll say that. But she's the most important person to me because she is the victim. And I probably should have I didn't even say Epstein's full name, did I? Yeah, that's fine. That'll do. Lord Mandelson. Well, here we go again. Right. Do you think he'll bring the Prime Minister down? He's sort of stood there so far. Although the Greens have just won a massive seat and taken it from Labour. Well, at least it's not reform. Oh, did I tell you that Farage has been known to be drinking in a pub somewhere in Frodsham? I'm not saying which one. But actually, he put the word out that he's going to be there and a second time and then didn't turn up. I mean, how reliable is that? Says everything about the man, really. So police are investigating whether or not Mandelson gave Epstein government information. I mean, seriously, have you guys not watched Blackadder? Where Baldrick runs for an MP. For those who haven't seen it, okay, Blackadder's helping Baldrick fill out this form, okay, to apply to be an MP. And he wants to put, that's right, criminal convictions. And Baldrick says, none. Blackadder said, are you going to be an MP for God's sake? Right, I'll just put bribery and sexual deviancy. Which, you know what? Considering all where we are now, it's kind of about right, really. Anyway, so now he's been arrested, hasn't he, on suspicion of misconduct in a public office. Basically they're saying that he was a flight risk. He was going to go and live abroad somewhere else. I mean, they probably saw him packing through his windows. He's under surveillance. No, obviously we weren't possibly going anywhere. Just ignore all those moving boxes. And the fact that I'm buying a house in Spain or somewhere where they can't extradite him from, Switzerland maybe. And a school in Derbyshire has had their uniform, okay? It's changed, right? So instead of like this stupid blazer thing, they've got like a weatherproof jacket and a polo shirt after asking pupils and engaging with parents. Well, hallelujah. That's a bit of a novelty, isn't it? Schools actually asking parents and pupils what they want. And this is like communication and common sense, because it's much more practical, isn't it, really? Blazers aren't that waterproof, and then you've got to get your blazer and then you've got to buy another coat as well, which is challenging for families. And polo shirts are much easier to come by. You might have to have the logo put on, but you can probably buy the logo separately and stitch it on somewhere and get the polo shirt a little bit cheaper. I don't know, but it seems a bit more common sensey to me. Valentine's Day, the Italian love arch has fallen into the sea on Valentine's Day. That says it all, really, doesn't it? The whole world's falling apart around us. So the UK are looking to increase their defence spending budget after meeting other European leaders who've said, well, you're not in the EU, mate. So, if anything happens, you can sort yourself out. Oh, dear me. Right. Here we are. Here's the biggie that you guys have all been waiting for. My opinion on this. Andrew Mountbatten, formerly known as Prince. How many people have made that joke? Lots. Has been arrested. It's not appropriate to comment on this to say it's important to send out the message that this type of behaviour against women should not be tolerated in any level of society. First time an ex-prince has been arrested in, 400 years. Now, also, I read a really interesting article, and I meant to write down the name of the town. It was somewhere in the, it was up north, around Newcastle way, but not Sunderland way, Middlesbrough, that sort of area. And there was a town, right, that was, it was a rundown mining town. I can't remember the name of it. I didn't write it down. And it was in decline, and then they all voted for Brexit. And apparently it's in more decline after Brexit, right? So they're now supporting reform. But Nigel Farage was a massive supporter of Brexit. So why would you then support, a man and a party after, your last decision didn't leave your town in a really good position? Makes no sense to me. And apparently it's been described as rude and arrogant. Oh, no, that's Andrew, sorry, not Nigel Farage. Or maybe it's Nigel Farage as well. They're going for Nigel Farage actually this week, aren't they? They're going for his character assassination of Nigel Farage, of which I must admit I participated. I've never met the man, but Do you know? Yeah. If I've met you and I'm not impressed, you'll know about it. Right. Anyway, so Andrew's been described as a rude and arrogant, entitled man. Okay. Yeah. We'll just move on from that because I've never actually met Andrew. BBC, they're doing a production of Lord of the Flies. Okay, I mentioned this on my podcast, so I'm quite excited a couple of years ago. Don't ask me which one it's in. I haven't got a clue, and I'm certainly not going to sit through and listen to all of them to find out which one it was. If you're listening to this recently, you know which one it is, then, drop a line in my Instagram post. Just let me know. Or you can send me a text now. I've got a thing sorted out, so I can get texts off through my podcast. Okay, nothing rude though. I won't read that out. So if anyone texts me, let me know. And we have to make some up and say that's fine. I'll make something up if I don't get any text messages. It's the first time I've mentioned it actually. Yeah, text in. Let me know your comments on things, and what you want more of and what you want less of. I'm just quite interested. All right, so an experiment was actually done in real life. Now this was really, really interesting. And they left a group of unsupervised children, on a desert island. And that, strangely enough, the children became completely lawless. And one child apparently was like covered in blood and they all had bruises on them, etc., etc., etc. Yet the upper class society, because let's face it, we are still in a class society, of course we are. You can say we're not, but it doesn't make it true. They send children off to boarding school age 7 where they have no maternal love, no supervision, no parental guidance about what's wrong and right, and then they become leaders, politicians and influencers. I'm just going to leave that there for you to think about. It's just a bit crazy if you ask me. There's lots of young graduates out of work. That's something that's come up recently. Loads of young people can't get a job, gone off to university, got massive debt and now can't get a job, which must be highly frustrating for them and their parents because obviously they'll still be living at home. Now's a good time to join the Green Party, guys. Okay. A plumber's just got in, so an unemployed student has got equally a good chance of getting in because we need some proper people, in government. We need some people who are normal, everyday, working class people to give those people a vote. We've had enough of the kind of, people who have gone off to public school or grammar school or boarding school. We don't want them in charge anymore because they're completely clueless. They don't live in any kind of reality that's normal life, and they have no clue what's going on, in real people's lives. So yeah, let's get rid of them. I think we need some different people. Ian Huntley, he's been attacked in prison. He's quite serious. That's unfortunate, isn't it? That's all I have to say on that one. And there's been a few things like that, but I'm not going to dwell on them. Now, what's Trump done now? Okay, I might have missed something this month. What the news this month was just so, I don't know, frustrating, I think is the word. And maybe depressing because you're thinking he's now thinking of bombing Iran. And British people, did I just say something about the British told the people to leave the embassy in Tehran? I'm pretty sure they have because I think he's going to bomb it. And I'm just like, he's determined. This guy is just an absolute lunatic who is trying to start World War III, and then he's signed some sort of peace group and you put that together and then it's just, but you go, right, okay, so in the real world, which he clearly doesn't live in, you cannot start up a group trying to get peace in 1 week and then the next week say, yeah, I'm going to bomb Iran now because I feel like it. That's not how peace works. Peace, doesn't begin with threatening other countries to try and bomb them. I'm just like, it's absolute ludicrousy. And obviously the papers, no surprise here. I mean, do they think people are absolutely completely stupid? I haven't sworn yet, have I? We're 19 minutes in. I've put that warning on my little podcast thing, advert thing on Instagravy. It's like, what is, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And that's right. Now, it's like it was pretty obvious, actually, wasn't it, that the redacted pages from the Epstein thing clearly included Trump, But then now they've dragged the Clintons into it as well because, hey, you met him. You went on a plane with him. So you must be guilty of something because I am. So you must be as well. I mean, you just don't know who to believe, do you? You really don't. Anyway, so Trump's clearly been up to no good at some point in his life. But I'm going to leave it there because otherwise he'd be suing me. Although, good luck. All I've got is a house with a slightly leaky roof still. It hasn't been fixed yet. I don't think it's leaking. It's just too much condensation. Right. So, that's right. So he very kindly put up a really racist video of Michelle and Barack Obama as apes. Well, that's nice, isn't it? And then claimed he hadn't watched it. I mean, seriously, that's like saying, okay, right, I'm going to issue this law so that they can bomb Iran, but I can't be bothered reading it. I'm just going to sign the bottom of it. Yeah, honestly. And I was having a conversation with someone recently who said Trump can't stand again. And then I said, yeah, he was going to change the rules. My friend said, great, that means Obama can stand again. And I was like, yes, thank you. I think I did put Michelle Obama for the next US president, please, on my Instagram this week. Or was it last week? Can't remember. So now this isn't Trump collected, but it's in America, so it can kind of go in this little section. It was good enough for me, right? Because I just thought this was absolutely ludicrous. It was somebody in his government, bought a Pokemon card for over $1 million US. Okay, you have got a situation where an actor at Dawson's Creek, one of my favourite TV shows when I was growing up. Yeah, James Van Der Beek. Unfortunately, we lost him, didn't we? And his wife and her children put out a plea and said, look, we haven't got any money. We can't pay for his medical bills. Please, could you help me? And fortunately, he has lots of really, really wealthy people who he worked with. I think, did Steven Spielberg give him some money as well? I can't remember, maybe about £20,000, which is extremely generous. And it's great that he has all those people. I think it was, last time I checked, it was about $1 million they'd managed to get together. But imagine that you are in that situation in the States and you get cancer and you don't have that money and you don't have any rich friends. And then you see somebody from the US government buying a Pokemon card for $1 million. That's it. Okay. I'm just at 20 minutes, but you know what? I'm just going to leave that there because I want that to be the last thought in your head. A Pokemon card for $1 million. Have a good week, everyone, and I'll catch you next time.